Abba, Yahuwah, we invoke your name and your presence, and we call upon you. You are the source of all life, and nobody can make a claim to anything apart from you. No one can accomplish anything apart from you, and that's why all belongs to you, and why you will receive the glory in the end. Because there's not one work that isn't originally a work of your hands. But I pray that you would guide, that the Ruach of Chokmah and discernment would be with me, and that you would guide these words in this time, that your message for now, this generation, would be clearly communicated, and that your your warning would be heeded by your people, and that also that many would grow to become more edified in their understanding of the days ahead and the days that we're in. We thank you, Abba. Zakar Shem Yahusha. We regard the name of Yahusha and thank you for all of these things. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So Abba recently has placed upon my heart a great theme of a study that he had me do, and had me read into several scriptures, and spend a great deal of time looking into this. It's been a topic that has been on my heart for quite some time, and one that I've written about in part in the past. I have several writings that I've done on my WordPress site, which is JM, like in mountain, ILLE70.wordpress.com. And this study is actually posted on there as well in a readable format. But I wanted to go over it in audio because there's a lot of things the Ruach does when you're speaking that you can't get out in word, and lots of things that he shows you while you're studying and while you're looking into his word that you can't pack into everything you're trying to write down. So I'm praying that Yahuwah by the Ruach would help guide me in these things, so that I could present some of the other truths and important pieces of information that I feel are important to be aware of, in particular, and specifically regarding this study. So the study is about the day of Yahuwah, and how the day of Yahuwah will unfold. There's a lot of ideas and thoughts and beliefs out there, and some confusion, and there is a great delusion in the earth right now. I think 2 Thessalonians 2:11 talks about it, but it's a system that where the delusion is. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know if I can right away here. But it's the whole system. It's not just like some spirit came and blew smoke on you, and you all of a sudden weren't able to comprehend or have clarity of thought and discerning a matter. It's the whole system that people are plugged into, the Babylonian system. And I will look it up because there's a unique way that these translators here in the 1998 version of the ISR, the scriptures, 98 scriptures version, how they put it, and it's in 2 Thessalonians 2, I believe, or it's first, I can't remember. Let me check here. I think it's 2 Thessalonians. Let me see here. 2 Thessalonians, the day of Yahuwah. Yep, 2 Thessalonians. It says in verse 11, and for this reason Elohim sends them a working delusion for them to believe the falsehood. So it's a working of delusion as well. He sends them a working of delusion. And I understood that when I read that last, when I was in prayer, to be like this. It is the entire system that forces people to think in certain ways. The corporate environments and subcultures and cultures that all these companies create, and how they form and fashion the thinking of their employees. And then their employees take that with them into the world, and they think it's just common, or they actually apply a lot of what these corporations teach them in their home life. And it's really sad, because all these people who are caught up in Cain's cities and the ways of Cain's and the working, or the ways of Cain and the working of his ways, they don't realize the difference of what it means to be set apart and how life would be without these, without these things that are built together, are the full expression of the delusion. But all of it really does, it draws our affection and focus and attention away from the truth of the matter. So Yahuwah has done that, but people were deluded even before he did his work there. People have been deluded for a long time. Many of the Navim, how will the day of Yahuwah unfold? Many of the Navim and prophets have mentioned the day and provide details to help us understand what the appearance and the activities of the day will be like. Beginning in the Brit Chadasah, or the renewed covenant, and looking back from this point, Yahushua's taught when Kepha reflects on the Dabarim, or the words written by the Navi'im while in the Ruach. And he had some very unique things to write, in particular about the day of Yahuwah. 2nd Kepha 2, chapter 2, chapter 3, verse 10 through 13, says that the day of Yahuwah shall come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with intense heat, and the earth and the works that are in it shall be burned up. Seeing all these things are to be destroyed in this way, what kind of people ought you to be in kadosh behavior and reverence, looking for and hastening the coming of the day of Elohim, through which the heavens shall be destroyed, being set on fire, and the elements melt with intense heat. But according to his promise, we wait for renewed heavens and a renewed earth, in which righteousness dwells. So the way I've done this study is I've presented portions of scripture, and I just kind of went through it and pulled out the markers of the identifying markers of the day. So one thing Kepha said is that it'll be like a thief. It'll come as a thief in the night. People aren't expecting a thief to come when they do, and in the nighttime is even more cover provided for a thief to do his work. So interesting that Yah would compare the day like that, but I suppose it is in a way, but he's not taking anything back that doesn't belong to him, that's for sure. The elements of the creation, the next point, heavens will pass away with a great noise. So expect a great noise, something that probably you've never heard before, like the fabric of the sky tearing open and hearing a break of the fabric, or something along those lines. The elements of the creation, earth and the cosmos, will melt with intense heat. So there's going to be some fire. We can expect a lot of fire and heat. We can expect the works of men's hands to be destroyed and burned up by this heat. How will this fire come? Where will it come? There's lots of different ways that fire could come down. And Yahuwah has lots of ways that we don't even know about. So he's got storehouses of lots of things that he's stored up for the sons of men, Ben Ish and Ben Adam. But we know that the heavens will be destroyed by virtue of the intense heat, and the earth and all the works in the earth will be burned up according to Kepha and what he has written. Now, what's important for us to understand about Kepha and the other Talmudim, or taught ones, or disciples of Yahusha, is they only had the writings of the prophets to read and to meditate upon. So when they considered the new covenant, Brit Chadasha, new covenant, they only referred to the writings of Yeshayahu and Yirmiyahu and Daniel and Moshe and Kizikel and these ones, Zechariahu and Zephaniah, these different prophets, Navi'im, who received the word of Yahuwah long ago and wrote pertaining to Kepha's day and our day as well. So he had those writings to look back on for direction and guidance from Yah, and he still was a Torah keeper. He kept Torah in light of Mashiach, in light of Yahusha being the Kohen Hagadol. So we have to understand how that works, because he doesn't do away with his word, because he accomplishes because he accomplished the task that he did does not mean that all of his instruction regarding life and the ancient path have been done away with. So people need to do their research on that and come to a consensus and truth, because there's a lot of confusion. I'm happy to help where I can. But carrying on, so these were the following words that I'm about to write were written by Kepha's prophetic predecessors, who lived before the coming of Mashiach and his ascension, regarding the day of Yahuwah, relating specifically. So these writings are related specifically to our generation, and that's something to keep in mind, because we a lot of these prophecies can go in a couple of different directions, and they can apply to a modern day time, which oftentimes many of them do, and they can apply to a future date. So they could apply to something that was going to happen shortly after the prophecy was given at that time, whether 700, 1400, 2000 years ago, or these prophecies spoken apply to a date much further in the future. So we've seen that with the fulfillment of prophecy in the life of our Messiah, and we're seeing it in the fulfillment of prophecy during our lives with a lot of things that are being completed prior to the coming of Mashiach, or Yahuwah Tzavayot. So I have several portions of scripture here that I've put together in a study that pertain to this. I'll just read starting from Zephaniah, chapter 1, verse 7 through 18. And he writes, "Hush in the presence of Adonai Yahuwah, for the day of Yahuwah is near. For Yahuwah has prepared a slaughter. He has set apart his invited ones. And it shall be in the day of the slaughter of Yahuwah that I shall punish the rulers of the sons of the sovereign, and all such as are clad in foreign garments. And I shall punish on that day all who leap over the threshold, who fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And on that day there shall be, declares Yahuwah, a sound of a cry from the fish gate, and of a howling from the second quarter, and of a great clashing from the hills. Howl, you inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people shall be silenced. All those weighing out silver shall be cut off. And at that time it shall be that I search Jerusalem with lamps, and punish the men who are settled on their dregs, who say in their heart, Yahuwah does no good, nor does he evil. He doesn't even exist in their minds. And their wells shall become plunder, and their houses laid waste. And they shall build houses, but not inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink their wine. Near is the great day of Yahuwah, near and hurrying greatly, the noise of the day of Yahuwah. Let the mighty man then bitterly cry out. That day is a day of wrath, a day of distress and trouble, a day of waste and ruin, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of shofar and alarm against the walled cities and against the corner towers. And I shall bring distress on men, and they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against Yahuwah, and their blood shall be poured out like dust, and their flesh like dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahuwah. And by the fire of his jealousy all the earth shall be consumed, for he makes a sudden end of all those who dwell in the earth. Zephaniah shares the following attributes specifically about the day, that it is a day of slaughter, and Yahuwah has invited, he has set apart those whom he has invited. So there are certain people selected for the day. Not everyone is selected for this special and unique day. A day of outworking it will be, of the righteous judgment of Yahuwah. Rulers and dignitaries, along with their offspring, will be punished along with those who accomplish their wicked bidding and set out to actually do what they were, these horrible tasks that these wicked leaders had in mind. There will be crashing and howling, crying out will manifest in places where selling of merchandise and the trading floors take place. All the merchant people shall be silenced, all those weighing out silver shall be cut off. The indifferent and those who do not acknowledge Yahuwah will be judged, and their belongings will be plundered and redistributed, and the works of their hands shall be destroyed. It is a day of great distress for all who transgress purposefully against Dabar Yahuwah, Torah, Yahushua HaMashiach. They will walk as blind men into their own destruction. So, it is a day of wrath, of distress and trouble, of waste and ruin, darkness, gloominess, clouds and thick darkness, the blowing of a shofar and alarm. And it's a day that's against cities that are walled, cities that are fortified, and corner towers too, it says. So, we're talking, Yahuwah judges cities, and he judges nations, and he judges people groups, tribes, clans, and he judges individuals. So there's going to be some judgment of some cities going on here that we can expect. The fire of the jealousy of Yahuwah will consume all the earth and make a sudden end of them who dwell therein. This is the last point that he makes. Joel, chapter 2, verse 1 through 11, reads, Blow a shofar in Zion, and sound an alarm in my Kadosh mountain, Har. Let all the inhabitants of Haaretz tremble, for Yom Yahuwah, the day of Yahuwah, is coming, for it is near, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like the morning clouds spread over the mountains, a people many and strong, the like of whom has never been, nor shall ever be again after them. To the ears of many generations, ahead of them a fire has consumed, and behind them a flame burns. Before them the land is like the Garden of Eden. And that word Eden is very interesting. I actually read about it in another scripture earlier today from some other studies I was doing. But it's Ayin Dalet Noon. Ayin Dalet Noon. And it's interpreted to be pleasure, which I just found so interesting, that our Elohim, Yahuwah, he enjoys life, and it brings him great joy to see his children taking pleasure in the works of his hands, and that is a marvelous thing. It's okay to experience pleasure and to take joy in the works of enjoy them and put them to use and use them in their proper context, and enhance our life experience and have experience pleasure in a sensation, a physical way, in a spiritual way, and in a mental way. Pleasure is not evil. It's a good thing that Yahuwah had in mind, had in store, beginning with the Garden of Eden for Ben Adam and even Adam and Hua. So, but before them the land is like the Garden of Eden, and behind them a desert waste, this army, and from them there is no escape. Their appearance is like the appearance of horses, and they run like steeds. As the noise of chariots they leap over mountaintops, as the noise of a flaming fire consuming stubble, as a mighty people set in battle array. Before them peoples are in anguish, all faces become flushed. They run like mighty men, they climb the wall like men of battle. Everyone goes on his way, and they do not break ranks, and they do not press one another. Everyone goes in his path, so they follow a very special configuration and how they approach each location where they're sent. They fall among weapons, and they do not stop. So weapons aren't stopping them. They rush on the city, and they run on the wall. They climb into the houses. They enter at the windows like a thief. The earth shall tremble before them. The heavens shall shake. Sun and moon shall be darkened, and the stars withdraw their brightness. And Yahuwah shall give forth his voice before his army, for his camp is very great, for mighty is the doer of his word, Debar, his word. For the day of Yahuwah is great and very awesome, and who can withstand it? Who does bear it? Further on, Yoel writes a little bit further, or a little bit more on the topic here. In chapter 3, verse 16, he says, and Yahuwah shall roar, there will be a roar from Zion, and give forth his voice from Yerushalayim. And the heavens and earth shall shake, but Yahuwah shall be a refuge for his people, and a stronghold for the children of Yasharel, or Yisrael. In Yoel's account, he indicates the day of Yahuwah to have these attributes. So again, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of heavy clouds and darkness. So we're going to see some thick clouds in the sky when he shows up. It's going to be dark and gloomy. That's what I'm kind of picturing. Not a sunshiny, happy day. Very dark, very gloomy, very ominous. A great people, the armies of Yahuwah Tzavayot, will emerge unlike any before, or will be again. It says for many generations, but if it's the army of Yahuwah, it's the army of Yahuwah. Mighty and strong they are, laying waste to all lands and nations they encounter. They're unstoppable. No weapons can stop them. The sun and the moon will be darkened, and the stars will withdraw their light. Yahuwah will roar from Zion. The heavens and earth will shake again. We hear that again. So there's going to be a shaking. But Yahuwah shall be a refuge for his people and a stronghold for the children of Yasharel, which I want to bring up, because it says in certain places that all people will be consumed, everything will be burnt up by the intensity of the heat. But Yahuwah says here that he will be a refuge for his people. So there's going to be some way where his people, where he preserves his children and does not allow them to be wholly burned up. So I think Paul says something in 1 Corinthians 3 about every man's works will be tested by the fire, and that some will be tested, and part of their works will be burned, and others will be tested only and all their works will be burned, but they themselves will be saved as if by fire, is what it says. So there's going to be something going on. The spiritual dynamic and reality is going to become more manifest to people, and they're going to see how the fires of the Shamayim are real and evident, and how they cross over the barrier. I mean, we got a tearing open, a big loud boom, the heavens are shaken, and fire comes in. So even though some will have works that are burned up, they won't be burned themselves. They won't burn up. So there's going to be a fire that even comes real close to home, even our bodies, and we'll see who burns up and who doesn't. For those who have a real covenant, who abide in Yahusha, the Master, Adonai, our Mashiach, and recognize that He is the walking Debar Yahuwah. He is the word spoken in the beginning. He is the perfect example of a man abiding in Torah and the instructions of Yahuwah. If you've seen the Son, you've seen the Father. Hallelujah. We're in the heat of the day today, and I'm a little bit sleepy. I almost didn't have the energy to do this, but I pressed myself, so please bear with me if I get a little bit off from time to time while I'm talking. But yeah, for those who seek Yahusha and have genuine covenant with Abba, and don't forsake Torah. There's no forsaking Torah. No, it's never been done away with. It was renewed, and there's a new Kohen Hagadol who has assumed his position and role in the heavens, and he's the one we should be acknowledging now as our high priest, as our Kohen Hagadol. For those who don't acknowledge Yahushua HaMashiach as the Kohen Hagadol, well, I'm concerned for you regarding the day of Yahuwah's visitation, because your works will not be built upon the foundation of Yahuwah's word, because that's who Yahusha is. He's Debar Yahuwah. Zechariah chapter 13 verse 14 through 21 states a little more here and fills in some more for us. He does complement some of what Zephaniah shared, and gives a little more details here. He also talks more about what it will be like after the day, which there is a day after the day, and there's a day after that day too. Chapter 13 verse 14. I started in verse 7 through 9, so I'll go ahead and read that, and then I'll jump over the other portion. But chapter 13 verse 7 through 9 here, and Zechariah, O sword, awake against my shepherd, capital, against the man who is my companion, again in caps there, declares Yahuwah Tzavayot, smite the shepherd, again in caps, the shepherd is in caps, in uppercase, and let the sheep be scattered, but I shall turn my hand upon the little ones. Smite the shepherd, and let the sheep be scattered, but I shall turn my hand upon the little ones. And it shall be throughout all the soil, declares Yahuwah, that 2/3 therein are cut off and die, and 1/3 is left therein. And I shall bring the third into fire, and refine them as silver is refined, and try them as gold is tried. And they shall call on my name, Shem Yahuwah, and I shall answer them. He says, I shall say, this is my people, while they say, Yahuwah is my Elohim. And then jumping ahead to verse 14, 16 through 21. And it shall be that all who are left from all the Gentiles which came up against Yerushalayim shall go up from year to year, Shanar, I guess that the word for year there's Shana, to bow themselves to the sovereign Yahuwah Tzavayot, and observe Sukkot, or Feast of Tabernacles, or booths. And it shall be that if any of the clans of the earth does not come up to Jerusalem to bow themselves to the sovereign Yahuwah Tzavayot, on them there is to be no rain, so drought. And if the clan of Mitzrayim does not come up and enter in, then there is no rain, and on them the plague which Yahuwah plagues the Gentiles who do not come up on them is the plague with which Yahuwah plagues the Gentiles who do not come up to observe Sukkot. This is the punishment of Mitzrayim and the punishment of all the Gentiles that do not come up to observe Sukkot. In that day, Kadosh to Yahuwah shall be engraved on the bells of the horses, and the pots of the house of Yahuwah shall be like the bowls before the altar. And every pot in Yerushalayim and Yehudah shall be Kadosh, or set apart to Yahuwah Tzavayot, and all those who slaughter shall come and take them and cook in them. And there shall no longer be a merchant in Bet Yahuwah Tzavayot in that day. There will be no selling and no money changers, no merchants in the house of Yah in that day. And tying that together was jumping back again over to Zephaniah in chapter 3, though, this time, verse 8. He says, therefore wait for me, declares Yahuwah, until the day I rise up for plunder. For my judgment is to gather nations, to assemble rains, to pour out on them my rage, all my burning wrath. For by the fire of my jealousy all the earth shall be consumed. For then I shall turn unto the people, he says, for then I shall turn unto the people a clean language, so that they can call on the name of Yahuwah, Yod-He-Vav-He, Shem Yahuwah, to serve him with one shoulder, shoulder to shoulder. From beyond the rivers of Cush, my worshippers, the daughter of my dispersed ones, shall bring my offering. And that day you shall not be put to shame for any of your deeds in which you have transgressed against me. For then I shall remove from your midst your proud exalting ones, and you shall no more be haughty in my set apart Kadosh mountain, Kadosh Har. So this is important to see here, that just the compassion and the forgiveness the Yahuwah displays here, because he understands that there's certain ones in the midst of the group that are, it's kind of like the one kid in class that stirs up the whole class, and with that one kid is removed, the class does just fine. So he's gonna remove the troublemakers, the proud ones, and not hold their shenanigans against the people who participated, it seems like. So thank you, Yahuwah, Baruch Yahuwah, for your kindness and your forbearance. Abba, be glorified. It says here, the remnant of Yasharel shall do no unrighteousness. Oh, let me back up here. It says, but I shall leave in your midst an oppressed and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of Yahuwah. Something else to note, that just because his kingdom has come, the day is past, it doesn't mean that everyone will be wealthy in terms of physical possessions and property, and there's a reason for that. And just because people don't have financial wealth or accumulated a great number of valuable resources or land, it has nothing to do with the quality of the individual, has nothing to do with their level of obedience or effectiveness, and how they dedicate themselves to Abba Yahuwah. The poor are just, they're there as a lesson. They're there. Many of us are poor. He loves the poor. He doesn't want people becoming dependent on something other than him when it comes down to it. And it's, when people are left in this position, they learn life in a different way. They learn to trust and lean wholly upon Yahuwah instead of the works of their hands or the strength of men. It says here, the remnant of Yahshua shall do no unrighteousness and speak no falsehood, nor is a tongue of deceit found in their mouth, for they shall feed their flocks and lie down, with none to frighten them. Shout for joy, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Yahshua. Be glad and rejoice with all your labab, your heart, O daughter of Yerushalayim. Yahuwah has turned aside your judgments. He has faced your enemy. The sovereign of Yahshua, Yahuwah, is in your midst. No longer do you need to fear evil. In that day it shall be said to Yerushalayim, do not fear. Zion, do not let your hands be weak. Yahuwah your Elohim is in your midst. He is mighty to save. He rejoices over you with joy. He is silent in his love. He rejoices over you with singing. I shall gather those who grieve about the appointed place, who are among you, to whom its reproach is a burden. See, I am dealing with all those afflicting you at that time, and I shall save the lame, and gather those who are cast out, and I shall give them for a praise and for a name in all the earth where they were put to shame. At that time I shall bring you in, even at that time I gather you, for I shall give you a name and for a praise among all the peoples of the earth, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, says Yahuwah. It's so beautiful. He really just wants to take care of his people. He never wanted his people to be like the nations and have secular governments. That's not the perfect will of Yahuwah, because men in positions of power always fall prey to corruption, and the poor and the orphan and the widow and the stranger and the oppressed and the castaway are always afflicted. They're always abused. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and that's just how it works. That's secular government. It doesn't matter what shade of it or what type it is. It always ends up the same way. A few select become extremely wealthy and covet the resources, while the vast majority starve to death and are afflicted. So Yahuwah does not want that. He wants to be sovereign over Yasharel, over the seed of Yaakov, the seed of Abraham. According to Zechariah and Zephaniah, at the time of the consummation of the day of Yahuwah, the burning wrath of Yahuwah will be poured out upon the gathered nations. And that language I thought was very interesting, gathered nations. It made me think about the United Nations, because all these governments here, when we approach this day, the world is going to be all set. The stage is going to be set with all the governments, and they're all going to be working against what Yahuwah is accomplishing and trying to cast more illusions and delusions and false reality constructs upon the people to hide the truth and stop them from seeing what's happening, so they'll continue to be on board with these fallen Elohim ideologies and government agendas. So I wondered how that would look, and there will be several nations in Ahad working in tandem together with each other to fight against what Yahuwah is doing on the day of his visitation. They're not going to do very well. So his burning wrath will be poured out on the gathered nations. And the Kadosh remnant of Yahuwah, Zadik ben Adam, 1/3 selected from Yasharel and Yehuda, will be preserved along with a small group of people, Ben Ish, or the people of the nations outside of the seed of Yaakov, who were made to survive and endure the harshness of Yahweh's judgments. They also will be preserved on this day. So they even people from every nation will be selected. Yahuwah has set apart. All whom he has invited will be there. He will make a way. Those righteous who are made to be afflicted, poor, and cast out will be delivered and given a name of high regard, in which they will receive esteem, and they shall be delivered from their afflictions and captivity. The tongues of the people will be cleansed, and they will be given the Kadosh language of Yahuwah to speak. And I believe that this is Aleph Bet, Ivrit. This is Aleph Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samek, Ayin, Pei, Zadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav. These are the letters of Aleph Bet. And these are the letters that make up his language. When Yahuwah spoke and wrote upon the Sapphire tablets that he handed to Moshe at Mount Sinai, he wrote in Ivrit, he wrote in the Aleph Bet that we're familiar with today, the Paleo-Hebrew. So I believe that this is his Kadosh language, and that this will be the language that he sets apart again in a very unique way, and reteaches and educates the people, and we will be a part of that process. So the words that we will speak will reflect the kabod, or the glory of the Dabarim, the words spoken by Yahuwah in the beginning. The prideful will be removed from the midst of the Kodashim, leaving only those in covenant with Yah, who are humble before him, to dwell together in unity and Ahad. The Moedim, it says, it talks about Sukkot. The Moedim will perpetually continue, and so will Shabbat. There's debate about how what will happen after this age, but I found another scripture that says that the Shabbats are also eternal, along with the Moedim, like we read here about Sukkot. So I can find that verse, but I read that in the study, and I thought that was brilliant because it is included. So the calendar is a huge deal to Yahuwah now and in the age to come. The calendar, we have some writing that we've done on, and that I presented on our website too about that. It's an ancient calendar. It's based off of the Ivrit language, the Aleph Bet, and it also is based off of the 7 cycles of 7 weeks that we count beginning after the first Bakor, first fruits. So we do our count of our 49-day, 50-day count to the second, it's the Omer count up into Shavuot, or Pentecost, which historically many unique things have happened on that day. It was the day that the word of Yahuwah, the Torah, was given to the people, and it was the day that the Ruach HaKodesh fell on the taught ones of Yahusha after his ascension. So it's a very special day, and it continues to be a special day. And that's the thing. Each of his days are packed, filled with meaning and definition that he has prescribed. And if we understand that, and we understand what meaning he has given to each day, then we will be able to be more aware in our approach. We will be more effective. We will be more productive. We will be more in step with him for every day. Not only will we be in step with him for Shabbat and the Shabbatot and the other days that he's appointed for us, the Moedim, but we'll be in step with him every day, because he's got his eyes on Yasharel, and it says in the scriptures, he doesn't sleep nor slumber, but he keeps his eyes on Yasharel. So he's busy, he's working. I think that's Tehillim 121 where that's written. But and he does Shabbat. I do believe he Shabbats. I just think he's saying he's a busy Elohim. So the Moedim and Shabbat will continue on. Sukkot is the marker where Yahuwah puts the nations to the test during the millennial reign of Melech, King Yahusha. The people of Yah will be dedicated Malachim Kohanim, or we will be like a royal, kingly priests, or royal priesthood for him. And we will all live distinctive kadosh, set-apart lives wherein we will reflect the order of Melech Tzadik Yahusha. So we will still be abiding in the instruction and Torah of Yahuwah, though now we have our Kohen Hagadol, who is handling certain elements and aspects of Torah as our eternal Kohen Hagadol. So there are certain elements that we need to fully comprehend and understand. But as his set-apart people, we will be following the order that he has set and how we live and handle the elements of creation, as well as the vessels of each man's home. Each of the vessels in our homes will be set apart. So we will be Kohanim in our homes in the same, to the same extent level that the Levites were performed what Yahuwah had commanded them in his set apart temple. It will be that kadosh. It will be like that, as if the kadosh of kadoshas is in each of the dwellings of the kodashim. And the way that we order our day and the vessels of our home, they will need to be set apart unto him. We won't have things in our house that will draw our hearts away from him, or will replace him, or could become idols. Also, Zechariah says that during this time there will be remnants of rebellion, and some of the nations will not do teshuvah and acknowledge Yahusha and acknowledge his majesty. For this reason there will be droughts on the earth, and the plagues of Mitzrayim will still affect Ben Ish, the son of the children of men. Yeshayahu provides even more insight about the day and the time of the reign of Yahuwah. And I have a couple of portions of scripture here that I've included from Yeshayahu's writings. In chapter 66, verse 7, we read, "Before she labored, she gave birth. Before a pain came to her, she was delivered of a male child. Who has heard the like of this? Who has seen the like of these? Is a land brought forth in one day? Is a nation born at once? For as soon as Zion labored, she gave birth to her children. Shall I bring to birth and not give delivery, says Yahuwah? Shall I who give delivery restrain birth, says your Elohim? Rejoice with Yerushalayim, and be glad with her, all you who love her. Rejoice greatly with her, all you who mourn for her, so that you feed and shall be satisfied with the breasts of her comforts, so that you drink deeply and shall delight yourselves in her overflowing esteem. For thus says Yahuwah, see, I am extending shalom to her like a river, and the esteem of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. And you shall feed, and shall be carried on the side, and be fondled on her knees. As one whom his mother comforts, so I comfort you, and in Yerushalayim you are comforted. And you shall see, and your heart shall rejoice, and your bones flourish as tender grass. And the hand of Yahuwah shall be known to his servants, and his displeasure to his enemies. For look, Yahuwah comes with fire, and with his chariots, like a whirlwind, to render his displeasure with burning, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword Yahuwah shall judge all flesh, and the slain of Yahuwah shall be many. Those who set themselves apart to cleanse themselves at the gardens after one in the midst, eating flesh of pigs, and the abomination of the mouse, are snatched away altogether, declares Yahuwah. And I, because of their works and their imaginations, am coming to gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my esteem. And I shall set a sign among them, and shall send some of them who escaped the nations, Tarshish and Pol and Lud, and draw the bow, and Tubal and Yawan, the coastlands afar off, who have not heard my report nor seen my esteem. And they shall declare my esteem among the Gentiles, and they shall bring all your brothers as an offering to Yahuwah out of all the Gentiles on horses and in chariots and in litters and mules and camels to my Kadosh mountain Yerushalayim, he says, his mountain Yerushalayim. So the seed of Yaakov, the dispersion, is now going to be called forth out of the nations from whence they went, and into the nations where they had lost their identities, and he's going to bring them back and give them back identity, declares Yahuwah, as the children of Yasharel bring an offering in a clean vessel into Bet Yahuwah, and from them too I shall take for priests, Levites, he says even, declares Yahuwah. And for as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahuwah, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from Chodesh to Chodesh, and from Shabbat to Shabbat, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahuwah. And they shall go forth and look upon the corpses of the men who have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, and their fire not be quenched, and they shall be repulsive to all flesh. So, and then also Yeshayahu wrote, and this is in the previous chapter in 65 verse 8, thus says Yahuwah, as the new wine is found in the cluster, and one shall say, do not destroy it, for there is barukot in it, or blessing. So I do for my servant's sake, not to destroy them all. And I shall bring forth a seed from Yaakov, and from Yehudah an heir of my mountains, Harim, and my chosen ones shall inherit it, and my servants dwell there, and Sharon shall be a fold of flocks. In the valley of Achor, a place for herds to lie down, for my people who have sought me. They will be a place for herds to lie down for my people who have sought me. But you, he's rebuking some now who are there in his present company. You are those who forsake Yahuwah, who forget my Kadosh mountain, who prepare a table for God, which is to say fortune or money. In God we trust, and money we trust is really what that means, in case you were wondering. And who fill a drink offering from mani. So chance and fortune, that's our culture. Good luck to you. Oh, maybe you'll get a better chance next time. No, you won't. And there's no luck. No, that's just demon worship. It's the language of demon worship. In God we trust. No, we don't trust. And it's Gimel Dalet is what it is. You can look it up in the Hebrew dictionary. And he says here, and I shall allot you to the sword, and let you bow down to the slaughter, because I called and you did not answer. I spoke and you did not hear, and you did evil before my eyes, and chose that which I did not delight. Therefore thus says Yahuwah, Adonai Yahuwah, see, my servants eat, but you hunger. See, my servants drink, but you thirst. See, my servants rejoice, but you are put to shame. See again, my servants sing for joy of heart, but you cry for sorrow of heart, and wait for breaking of spirit, and wail for breaking of spirit of Ruach. And you shall leave your name as a curse to my chosen, for Adonai Yahuwah, Master Yahuwah, shall put you to death, and call his servants by another name. For Adonai Yahuwah shall put, so that he who baruchs himself or blesses himself in the earth does bless himself in Yahuwah, in the Elohim of Emet, truth, Emet, Aleph Mem Tav. And he who swears in the earth does swear by the Elohim of Emet, because the former distresses shall be forgotten, and because they shall be hidden from my eyes. For look, I am creating new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come to heart. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I create. For look, I create Yerushalayim a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I shall rejoice in Jerusalem, and shall joy in my people. And let the voice of weeping no more be heard in her, nor the voice of crying. No more is an infant from there going to live but a few days, nor an old man who does not complete his days. For the youth dies 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be lightly esteemed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and plant vineyards and eat their fruit, and shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For the days of my people are going to be as the days of a tree, and my chosen ones outlive the work of their hands. We're going to outlive the works of our hands. That's pretty amazing. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth children for trouble. For they are the seed of the Baruch of Yahuwah, and their offspring with them. And it shall be that before they call, I answer, and while they are still speaking, I hear. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It says, wolf and lamb feed together. A lion eats straw as an ox. The dust is the snake's food. They shall do no evil, nor destroy in all my Kadosh mountain, says Yahuwah. So Yeshayahu's words confirm, bear further witness to what was written by Zechariahu and Zephaniah. They provide more detail of what the lives of Kodashim will be like once we enter into the millennial reign of Yahusha. And my current understanding is that his millennial reign will happen after the day of his visitation. So, second Baruch gives some more details, and this is one that people not many know about. He is getting some notoriety finally, due to many different sources, people who have published the writings of second Baruch or Baruch. So I highly recommend doing some research online, seeing where Abba leads you to find this book, Second Baruch, because it's highly prophetic, and it's altogether inspired and breathed by Yahuwah. So please consider this book and spend great hours, many days, feasting on it, because it is the food of Yahuwah. So he details some more things, like the different types of bodies that men will inhabit, among some other things. But here in verse chapter 51, it says that it shall come to pass, when that appointed day has gone by, that then shall the aspect of those who are condemned be afterwards changed, and the glory of those who are justified. For the aspect of the glory of those who now act wickedly shall become worse than it is, and they shall suffer torment. Also as for the glory of those who have now been justified in my Torah, who have had understanding in their life, and who have planted in their heart the root of wisdom, chokmah, then their splendor shall be glorified in changes, and the form of their faces shall be turned into the light of their beauty, that they may be able to acquire and receive the world which does not die, which is then promised to them. So here you go, he gives us a little hint. How is it that the Kodashim will survive the great fires of Yahuwah that will be burning up everything Well, here you go. Baruch gives us a clue here. There's going to be some transformation happening, even inside of us, even in us. We're going to be changing, and it's going to be a process. It won't happen so quickly in a moment, but it will be process. So let's see here. It says, furthermore, for over this above all shall those who come then lament that they rejected my Torah. Okay. For over this above all shall those who come then lament that they rejected my Torah and stopped their ears, that they might not hear wisdom or receive understanding. When therefore they see those over whom they are now exalted, but who shall then be exalted and glorified more than they shall respectively be transformed, the latter into the splendor of angels. So he's talking again about the Kodashim here. When therefore they see those, so the wicked are seeing those over whom they were exalted, they're witnessing those who are going through transformation, and glorified, they shall respectively, and then it says, and here's more description about what the transformation will be. So they shall respectively be transformed, the latter into the splendor of the Malachim, the angels, and the former shall yet more waste away and wonder at the visions and the beholding of the forms. So there's multiple forms. For they shall first behold and afterwards depart to be tormented. So the wicked will get to see a little glimpse of the glory before they suffer their punishment. For those who have been saved by their works, and to whom the Torah has been now a hope and understanding and expectation, wisdom and confidence, shall wonders appear in their time. For they shall behold the world which is now invisible to them, and they shall behold the time which is now hidden from them. And time shall no longer age them, for in the heights of that world shall they dwell, and they shall be made like unto the Malachim, and be made equal to the stars. And they shall be changed into every form they desire, from beauty into loveliness, and from light into the splendor of kabod, glory. And there shall be spread before them the extents of Eden, of paradise. And there shall be shown to them the beauty of the majesty of the living creatures which are beneath the throne, and the hosts of the angels, the Malachim, who are now held fast by my word, lest they should appear, and are held fast by command, that they may stand in their places till their advent comes. Moreover, there shall be an excellency in the righteous, surpassing that in the angels. So keep that in mind. That's very special. For the first shall receive the last, those whom they were expecting, and the last those of whom they used to hear that they had passed away. For they have been delivered from this world of tribulation, and laid down the burdens of anguish. For what then have men lost their life, and for what have those who were on the earth exchanged for their soul? For then they chose not for themselves this time which beyond the reach of anguish could not pass away, but they chose for themselves that time whose issues are full of lamentations and evils. And they denied the world which ages not those who come to it, and they rejected the time of glory, so that they shall not come to the honor of which I told you before. How beautiful is that? That's just packed full of insight regarding the resurrected bodies, the Kodashim. And that's chapter 51 in 2nd Baruch. I jump ahead over to chapter 70. The whole book is amazing, but I'm trying to grab some of the main content here that applies to the study here. So I encourage everyone, for anyone out there who hasn't read Baruch, please do. It is totally worth your while. There's it won't be a waste of your time by any means, and spend as much time in there as you can, because it'll help you to make sense of a lot of other scriptures that you didn't quite understand. So so here in chapter 70 verse 1, and I'm going to read, some of these are very short chapters, some of them long, but I'm going to go from 70 to 83 here. It says, "Hear therefore the interpretation of the last black water." So there were several black waters and light waters that he talked about, but here we're just going to cover the last black waters, which are to come after the black. This is the word. Behold, the days are coming, and it will happen, when the time of the world has ripened, the harvest of the seed of the evil ones, and the Tov ones has come, that Yahuwah, the mighty one, El Shaddai, will cause to come over the earth and its inhabitants and its rulers, confusion of the Ruach and amazement of the heart. If I read that correctly, it was a long sentence. "And they will hate one another and provoke one another to fight." So, the Tov ones and the evil ones. So, "And the despised will rule over the honorable, and the unworthy will raise themselves over the illustrious. And many will be delivered to the few. Those who were nothing will rule over the strong. The poor will be greater in number than the rich, and the impious will exalt themselves over the brave. The wise will be silent, and the fool will speak. And the thought of men will not be realized then, nor the counsel of the strong, and the hope of those who hope will not be realized. Then it will be, when those things occur which have been said before will come to pass, that confusion will fall upon all men, the delusion, and some of them will fall in war, going into their own destruction blindly, and others will perish in tribulations, and again others of them will be troubled by their own. Yahuwah El Elyon will then give a sign to those nations which he has prepared before, and they will come and wage war with the rulers who will then remain. And it will happen that everyone who saves himself from the war will die in an earthquake, and he who saves himself from the earthquake will be burned by fire, and he who saves himself from the fire will perish by famine. And it will happen that everyone who will deliver himself and escape from all things which have been said before, both those who have won and those who have been overcome, that all will be delivered into the hands of my servant, the Anointed One. For the whole earth will devour its inhabitants, all to be handed over to my servant, the Anointed One. In chapter 71, "And the Kadosh land will have mercy on its own, and will protect its inhabitants at that time. This is the vision which you have seen, and this is its explanation. For I've come to tell you these things. I've come to tell you these things since your prayer has been heard by Yahuwah El Elyon." So the land will protect the inhabitants, the set apart Kodashim, the land itself. Another unique sign coming into the day of Yahuwah. Now hear also about the bright waters which come at the end after these black ones. This is the Debar, this is the word. After the signs have come of which I have spoken to you, after the signs have come of which I have spoken to you before, when the nations are moved and the time of my Anointed One comes, he will call all nations, and some of them he will spare, and others he will kill. So that goes along with, I think, Zephaniah, or there's one third. Some Gentiles will be spared, and some of the remnant of Yasharel and Yehudah. Every nation which has not known Yasharel and did not trodden down the seed of Jacob will live. And this is because some from all the nations have been subjected to your people and have treated them well. All those now who have ruled over you or have known you will be delivered up to the sword. In chapter 73, "And it will happen after he has brought down everything which is in the world, and has sat down in eternal shalom on the throne of his kingdom, and And then joy will be revealed, and rest will appear. And then health will descend and dew, and illness will vanish, and fear and tribulation and lamentation will pass away from among men. And joy will encompass the earth, and nobody will again die untimely, nor will any adversity take place suddenly. It sounds like what Yeshayahu wrote. Unjust judgment, condemnations, contentions, revenges, blood, passion, zeal, hate, and all such things will go into condemnation, since they will be uprooted. For these are the things that have filled this earth with evils, and because of them life of men came in yet greater confusion. The lives of men came in yet greater confusion. And the wild beasts will come from the wood and serve men, and the asps and the dragons will come out of their holes to subject themselves to a child. And women will no longer have pain when they bear children. They will not be tormented when they yield the fruit of their womb. Pretty neat stuff. It's going to be a different world. And it will happen. So he's talking about the day of Yahuwah and the millennium, the days that follow. And it will happen in those days that the reapers, the farmers, or the reapers will not become tired, and the farmers will not wear themselves out, because the products of the work that they do will shoot up speedily. The plants will grow fast during the time that they work on them, and they will remain in full tranquility during the time they work on them. So they won't grow weary by working in the field. For that time is the end of that which is corruptible, and the beginning of that which is incorruptible. So there's this transitions process that's happening from corruption to incorruption. Our bodies are changing. The world is changing. Things are slowly going from... There's a unique transition that's going on here. Transition up to the day of Yahuwah, and then even following the day of Yahuwah, transition of us entering into the incorruptible through process. Therefore the things which were said before will happen in it. Therefore it is far away from the evil. Therefore it is far away from the evil things, and near to those which do not die. Those are the last bright waters, which have come after the last dark waters. Baruch in chapter 75 says, And I answered, Who can equal your Tov, O Yahuwah, your goodness, for it is incomprehensible? Who can fathom your free, unmerited favor, and pardon which is without end? Or who can understand your intelligence? Or who can narrate the thoughts of your Ruach? Or who of those born can hope to arrive at these things, apart from those to whom you are merciful and kind? For if you were not merciful to men, those who are under your right hand, they were not able to come to them, apart from those who are named among the famous number. But we who exist when we know when we know why we have come, and then subject ourselves to you who brought us out of Mitzrayim, we shall come again and remember those things which have passed away, and rejoice with regard to the things which have been. But if we do not know now why we have come, and do not recognize the sovereignty of you who brought us from Mitzrayim, we will come again and ask for that which has now occurred, and shall be severely grieved because of that which has happened. So he's saying, look, these things are being told to us so that we don't repeat the same mistakes again, because it ceases to be a mistake after I don't know how many times. The first one's a mistake, second one maybe, third one maybe, how many times? So it's like, come on guys, get it. You need to get this, because you're going to lose it if you don't. Chapter 76. And he answered and said to me, Since the relation of this vision has been explained to you, as you prayed for Shema, Dabar, Yahuwah, El Elyon, that you know that which will happen to you after these things. So he prayed to hear the word of the Most High Yahuwah. For you will surely depart from this world, nevertheless, not to death, but to be kept unto the end of times, Baruch. Your life will be preserved in a special way, it sounds like. Therefore go up to the top of this mountain, and all countries of this earth will pass before you, as well as the likeness of the inhabited world, and the top of the mountains, and the depths of the valleys, and the depths of the seas, and the number of rivers, so that you may see that which you leave and where you go. This will happen after 40 days. Go therefore now during these days, and instruct the people as much as you can, so that they may learn, lest they die in the last times, may learn so they may live in the last times. So he's instructing the seed of Yaakov, and he's instructing us today, which is also the seed of Yaakov, those who are the remnant of the generations who were alive during the time of Baruch, which he lived around the same time as, or at the same time as Jeremiah, Hosea, Husha, and Yeshayahu, and Ezekiel. And I think there might be a few more a couple other Navi who were alive at that time. But those are the main ones. So Yaakov we have spiritual fathers who were alive that Baruch was talking to right now. And we are the fruit of the womb of many generations. Hallelujah. And Yahuwah is fulfilling his promises in our generation, as he did fulfill his promises in other generations, where he declared judgment and prophecy regarding those generations. Let's see here. Chapter 77. Let's see. Everything which you can remember. Yeah. If you therefore look upon the Torah and are intent upon wisdom, then the lamp will not be wanting, and the shepherd will not give away, and the fountain will not dry up. That sounds like the ticket there, verse 16, on how to keep your oils, your lamps filled with oil. For those who have that question, it's in Baruch here. Verse 16 and chapter 77 of Baruch. So he talks to the people here, encourages them to abide in Torah. He grabs an eagle, and he says to it, "You've been created by Yahuwah El Elyon, that you should be higher than any of the other birds. But now go, and do not stay in any place. Do not go into a nest. Do not sit on any tree, until you have flown over the breadth of the many waters of the river Euphrates, and have come to the people that live there, and cast down to them this letter." How beautiful. "Remember that Noach, at the time of the flood, received the fruit of the olive tree from a dove, when he sent it away from the ark. And also the ravens served Eliyahu, when they brought food to him, as they were commanded. And also Shlomo, in the time of his kingship, commanded a bird where he wanted to send a letter. And in whatever he was in need of, and it obeyed him as he commanded it." They did what it told him. "And do not be reluctant, and do not deviate to the right or the left, but fly and go straight away, that you may preserve the commandment of Yahuwah El Shaddai, as I said to you." How neat that he had this type of relationship with this bird. And this is really, this is fulfillment of prophecy for us too, because it says the animals will help us again. And we'll have our dominion back during this age over the animal life. So Yahuwah, let's see, Baruch sends a letter, talks to the people here. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but he shall continue to remember his one. I think I covered the majority of what I wanted to for this particular audio video study, but I did include the rest of these chapters in the written version on my website, so you can go there, check that out. JM, like mountain, ILLE 70.wordpress.com. So this one's entitled The Day of Yahuwah. So he gives them a strong word of encouragement, though. And, you know, back then, what they spoke to their children matters. Because if their children listened and they spoke to their children, it could reach even 1,000 years later, 2,000 years later, 1,500 years later. We will still be hearing that word of wisdom because of their obedience to the Torah and their submission to Ruach Chokmah, the spirit of wisdom. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that in terms of this portion here on Baruch. He does right here at the end, I will say this, in chapter 83. For Yahuwah El Elyon will surely hasten his times. He will certainly cause his periods to arrive. And he will surely judge those who are in his world, and will truly inquire into everything with regard to all their works which were sinful, or which were sins. He will certainly investigate the secret thoughts, and everything which is lying in the inner chambers of all their members which are in sin. And he will make them manifest in the presence of everyone with blame, so they will be to blame. Therefore nothing of the present things should come into your heart, but they should on the contrary be expected, since that which is promised will come. And we should not look upon the delights of the present nations, but let us think about that which has been promised to us regarding the end. For the ends of the times and the periods will surely pass away, and all which is in them together. The end of the world will then show the great power of Yahuwah our ruler, since everything will come into judgment. You should therefore prepare your hearts for that which you have believed before, lest you should be excluded from both worlds, namely, that you were carried away into captivity here and tormented there. For that which exists now, or that which has passed away, or that which will come, and all of that, neither the evil in it is fully evil, nor the tov is even fully tov. For all sorts of health which exist now changes into illnesses, and every might which exists now changes into weaknesses, or weakness. And every power that exists now changes into miseries. And every youthful energy changes into old age and consummation. And every beauty of elegance which exists now changes into withering and ugliness. And that's the end of the chapter. So what I indicated here, in relation to the day of Yahuwah, Baruch further elaborates the words of Yahuwah given to his kinsman contemporaries. He says that there will be a process involved wherein we will transition to glory of how things will be in the age to come after the day of Yahuwah. He shares with us what the world will be like during the millennial reign of Yahuwah Tzavayot, and he lets us know that the Kodashim will dwell in bodies that are eternal, while simultaneously the children of the nations, Ben Ish, the children who remained after the day of Yahuwah, who were preserved, they will continue to inhabit bodies subject to sin and death, though they will still, I think, be better bodies, because I believe that the untimely death and the retaining of youthfulness for one who pursues righteousness, the retaining of his life will happen. We'll see youthful people living a long, long, long time and stay looking youthful as they pursue righteousness. Whereas the wicked who live a long time, that's what Yeshayahu was saying, they'll be like 100 years old, but 100 years old will be nothing, because you'll see the wickedness on their physical appearance. You'll be like, how did you even live this long? So it'll be more evident, the righteous from the wicked, in the very bodies that we inhabit. There will be no pain in childbearing for women. People who work, their work won't be burdensome, but they'll have tranquility. and the work of their hands will come speedily forth and produce a great crop, just in a very fast, rapid kind of way. The bodies that the Kodashim will inhabit will be bodies of light, it says, that will change form, that transcend space and time as we understand now, and have capabilities that we don't fully comprehend. So beautiful. I am so grateful for Baruch and what he brings to the table, because it really creates a full picture with him. And there are other prophetic writings out here I haven't touched on that could be included in this study, but this so far is the complete work from what I, in terms of the writings that I was able to compile. I think this is, for the most part, pretty complete. And I only have, let's see, I've got just a few more paragraphs here to share, and then I'll be closing up this study. But I wanted to bring it forward. We started in Kepha, and I wanted to end here in Kizayon. And we ran through the writings of the Navi'im. Here I am in Kizayon now, which is Revelation chapter 20. So further solidify this study and the conclusions I've drawn. And I saw a messenger coming down from Hashamayim, the heavens, having the key to the pit of the deep and a great chain in his hand. And he seized the dragon, the serpent of old, who was the devil, Hasatan, bound him for 1,000 years, it says, and he threw him into the pit of the deep, shut him up, put a seal on him, so that he could not lead the nations any more astray, no more influenced by him, until the 1,000 years are ended. And after that, he's released for a little while. And then he says, I saw thrones, and they that sat on them, and they that sat on them, and judgment. So he saw the thrones and they that sat on them. And judgment was given to them. So they're judging. And the lives of those who had been beheaded, because of the witness they bore to Yahushua, and because of the Debar Elohim, and who did not worship the beast or his image, or receive his mark on their foreheads or hands. And they lived and reigned. They reigned. They ruled with Mashiach for 1,000 years. They reigned with the Messiah. And the rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection, which is a resurrection of the Kodashim. So this will be an age where the body of Yahusha, the full community, will be alive and living and dwelling in Achad during this time of the millennial reign of Yahusha. Baruch, and set apart, Kadosh, is the one having part in the first resurrection. The second death possesses no authority over these, but they shall be Kohanim of Elohim and of Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Revelation 22, Kizayon, verse 1 through 5, and he showed me a river of water of life, clear as crystal, coming from the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the middle of its street, and on either side of the river, was the tree of life, which bore 12 fruits, each tree yielding its fruit every chodesh. And the leaves of the tree were the healing of the nations, and no longer shall there be any curse, and the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face, and his Shem, his name, shall be on their foreheads. And night shall be no more, and they shall have no need of a lamp, or the light of the sun, because Yahuwah Elohim shall give them light, and they shall reign, again, and there's that word reign, forever and ever. And it says here, and I just encapsulated the bits here that I wanted to just really shine put a special highlight on. It says here, and they lived and reigned with Mashiach for 1,000 years. Baruch and Kadosh is the one having part in the first resurrection. So but they shall be Kohanim of Elohim and of Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So there's this reigning that's going on, and it needs to be, it really needs to be highlighted, because heaven is an idol, and the age to come is not an idle time, and there will be people who will be alive. There will be those who will be reigning, which is basically, they will be administrators of Torah, administrators of Emet Yahuwah, the Emet Debar Yahuwah. And that's how the reign will happen. We'll be teaching them. The language will be restored. The calendar will be restored. People will understand the day again. That's what will be happening with some of the expressions of this reigning. This is the great expectation of the resurrection of the Tzaddik, the righteous of Yahuwah, and the completion of his Tzaddik Mishpat, his righteous judgments, for the ages revealed. A warning from Yeshayahu 10:1-4. Woe to those making unrighteous laws and writers who have prescribed toil to keep the needy back from right ruling, and to take what is right from the poor of my people, that widows become their prey and orphans their plunder. What shall you do on the day of visitation, and in the ruin which comes from afar? To whom would you run for help, and where would you leave your wealth? Without me they shall bow down among the prisoners, and fall among the slain. With all this, his displeasure is not turned back, and his hand is still stretched out. Yahuwah, this is his declaration to those whom this is directed to, and it's a very, very, very serious reprimand. Woe to those making unrighteous laws, writers who have prescribed toil to keep back the needy, back from right ruling, and to take what is right from the poor of my people, plundering orphans and widows. Shameful. So that warning goes out to whom it is directed. We, the Kodashim, have a great expectation of things to come. And though many of these words are sobering that I've read today, the long-awaited joy that we have far exceeds the trials and tribulations that we all must face. We can have shalom, knowing that Yahuwah has not withheld and held anything back from us, but has disclosed all things, laid bare all things to us, that we would not have fear, but only emunah, faith. Aleph Mem Nun Hey, I believe is that the spelling. Emunah, faith, knowing we are in the comfort of his loving and tender care. So this is our expectation, and in this I close. I pray again to Yahuwah that this study, this message, will ring true in the ears of the Kodashim, and that Yahuwah will preserve that which is truly tzaddik and set apart, and allow everything else to be burned up by his fire. So Baruch Yahuwah, Nom Yahuwah. Amen and Amen.